But anyway, in this same tunnel system, they found a pyramid construction. It was a small pyramid, more like not a big construction. It was probably an artifact 30 centimeters high. The weird thing about this artifact is that it was a perfect pyramid, like the ones you find in Egypt, not in Mesoamerica, but in Egypt, which are like flat-sided, and it had an eye on the top, a clear eye figure, and on from the top down, it was the bricks were brick shapes were carved into it, just like the dollar pyramid on the dollar bill. It is pretty exact, and if you look up the video Klaus Donna interview by Project Camelot, you'll find it, and there's pictures of what he found there. And it's pretty amazing because how does this coincide with the dollar bill pyramid? Most curious people actually do know that the symbol actually represents many prehistory or at least many thousand-year-old representations of symbolic meanings, but well, no one really knows why it's there, why it's so important to put it on the dollar bill. But below this pyramid, for example, there was also the Orion constellation pattern etched into it, and there was four letters or four symbols of a strange, really weird writing that was really similar to Sanskrit. Only this was pre-Sanskrit because this was 12,000 years old, and these pre-Sanskrit writings actually have been found, and this was researched about Klaus Donna, in other archaeological pieces all throughout the world, including Illinois, including Colombia, Bolivia, Australia, Turkestan, South Italy, Ecuador, France. All over the world, the same writing was discovered, and it predates Sanskrit, which is supposed to be the oldest type, which also is actually Sumerian writing is contemporary to this writing, but it predates everything, and this is global. So what culture could have expanded throughout the globe and explored the globe to such to leave some of its traces and writings behind it? This was really interesting to me, and to these archaeologists too, because fact is, the evidence is out there, and you just have to bring the pieces of the puzzles together, since the mainstream won't do it for people. People have to take the investigation themselves and research and kind of make out some kind of puzzle that makes clarifies these mysteries, because I'd rather clarify a mysterious mystery, and even if it remains mysterious, it's better than having an really an old point and an old point and model of what it really is, and doesn't make sense to me. Inside this same tunnel structures, they've also found magnetic cups. What I mean by this is that they found 10 small cups and a big and a one big one. I don't know if there were 10, but there were many small cups and a big one. The volume, they were really well made, and with etched carvings of the constellation patterns in them. The volume of water that would fill up each cup would fit precisely the big one altogether. But the really interesting thing about this, it was studied, and they found that the inside, out of the big cup, was made of the same material and the same piece. On the inside, however, it showed a really strong magnetic field. On the outside, it didn't, and this just didn't make sense to the researchers, because you would expect to show the same magnetic fields inside and outside, since it's the same material and the same piece. But this again was kind of subdued and put aside. They also found a cobra statue, or a small statue of a cobra, and this was really mysterious because cobras didn't exist in South America. They only existed in the African continent, and how did they get there? So obviously there was this contact. Obviously there was much more to it than is generally accepted in the mainstream theory. More to this is the fact that they found already accepted that Asian mummies have been found in South America, predating a long time before the supposed contact was done. I myself went to Peru once, and in one of the most extensive museums in Peru of ceramics and archaeology. There are these some ceramics that clearly show, and it is even written there that it is a mystery to them, because one of the pieces, done by the same artist probably, because they're really alike, represents a Peruvian face, a Peruvian man. Another represents a clearly African featured man with different color, a darker color. Another a clearly featured Asian man, and another what they think is a European Caucasian, European featured man. So we have Caucasian, we have European, we have everything here, and they don't know how they did it, but it was obviously representing many different cultures. At the time, this was supposed to not have happened for many years to come. Um, Interesting thing is that the same Klaus Donna also found some other things. He went to Colombia, and in Colombia, he speaks to Jaime Gutierrez, which is, or finds about Jaime Gutierrez, which is the most famous industrial designer or architect or something. And this guy, this man actually collects artifacts and archaeology from all over his country. And the most famous artifact he's collected is what is really widely known in its field, but yet it's not really accepted, because it's really controversial. They call it the genetic disc. It's a really ancient artifact. I don't know how many years they dated it back to, but it's made out of a material that actually breaks like leaves do. So it's really really delicate, and it's really tough to work with and to mold, or to cut, so because it's a hard material. However, it was a perfect disc, probably 20 centimeters in diameter, I don't remember, and inside it, on both sides, each side had 8 divisions, and in each division there was depicted in a really defined and really well worked way, a different phase of the reproductional process of the human cell into various cells, into the fetus, into a bigger fetus, into a baby, and the last depiction is a baby in the hands of his parents. Now, how they knew when they did this how a cell looked like, or even how it reproduced, was absolutely controversial. It was absolutely unacceptable to think that they had telescope kind technology in those days, and that's why this piece is so controversial in itself. This man also has from the same material, which is they call Ludite, or probably these are the first one wasn't from Ludite, but these are. It's another material which is as hard as granite, which is one of the two strongest materials on this planet, which cannot be really cut out of either by diamond or another extraterrestrial and stronger material. However, these are small medical instruments. They think they're medical because they have etchings onto them, artistical etchings, which would refer to the birth process and the mother having a child and the cutting of the umbilical cord and stuff etched into the instrument. And they seem to be like for helping the birth process in case there's some trouble. And they're really soft. For this reason, they're really finely shaped and circularly shaped. They're ergonomical, and they're really, some of them are so small that even today it would be really difficult to work with such a hard material and make such small instruments, and so finely and refinedly worked with, that it's almost impossible to conceive an archaic culture with no advanced technology and no wheel doing this. However, they date back a really long time, and it's still a mystery, and it's in this man's collection. One of Klaus Donna's friends, which is an archaeologist, an Italian archaeologist, also made some interesting discoveries, which Donna speaks of in the interview I saw. And really interesting. This man actually traveled to Africa and found that in Africa, in New Guinea, which is northwestern Africa, he found a mountain, a huge granite mountain, rockside mountain. On the rock side of the mountain, there's etched onto it 150-meter long figure, a feminine figure, which measures that length from head to the lower torso, 150 meters on the mountain side. And studying the mountain material, soil material, and rock material underneath, they dated this back to at least 10 to 12,000 years. And it's really impossible how this could have been done in such a grand scale in one of the hardest materials by almost unadvanced cultures. Because one thing is to know about astronomy, another thing is actually to have the technology, physical technology, to do such feats. And I just wonder how this hasn't been published so much more, because these pictures were taken by this researcher himself and were not photoshopped or anything. And well, I would like to see that someday. It's really interesting. This is in New Guinea. And it's, yeah, I would like to see this someday. Then in Sierra Leone, they were mining in this mining site, which actually I don't know how underground this was, but they found really interesting stones, blue light stones, like sky stones. They were so blue and so weird looking that they sent them to Vienna for studying. And the researchers there actually were perplexed because they found that it was an artificial material. It was not natural stone, like you would expect to find on a mine. And they didn't know what the bluish color was, coloring was made out of. So I don't know what the material was, but he specifies that it was artificial. One other friend of him, an archaeologist too, phoned this Klaus Donna and told him about a finding in Africa too. It was an archaic statue. This statue actually kind of looks pretty basic, not too intricate or anything. And in it, he heard something kind of ringing inside. So he thought it was weird. Since he was an archaeologist, he opened up the statue. He made some X-rays to it, and in the X-rays he found something weird, which was a small, almost pretty much like 2 inches in the diameter, perfect sphere inside the statue. So he opened up the statue, and what he found was a small metallic sphere, perfectly shaped, like the ones we would see today, in the most perfect spherical shape, with no ruggedy siding, just a smooth siding. And it was kind of weird because it was made out of chrome steel, turns out, and chrome steel is found not until the 20th century. So this man thought he had been played a joke on, but really when he found that the thing was inside and hadn't been opened before, he had to actually open the statue to find this thing inside. He found this. Where did it come from? The statue dated back to 12,000 years ago. No way this stone material, this metal material could have been found then.